All right, what's up, guys? I hope you're having a fantastic day. I wanted to yap at you guys about something I've been thinking about for the last week now. And I wanted to preface it with a few things before we do that. I'm not a video game developer. I don't have the faintest clue on how to code, write stories, create an archetype, anything like that. I just enjoy video games, and the one I'm most excited about right now is Ashes of Creation. And if you're clicking on this video, the vast majority are probably in the same boat that I am. You're also not video game developers.
Oh no! Oh no!
You are also probably excited about Ashes of Creation. In today's video, we are going to talk about the timetable for when Ashes of Creation will be going live. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because this was brought up to me last year. And to go to the Wayback Machine, way back in August of 2024, we received the date for when the Alpha 2 doors would open. And at that point in time, I was doing live streams, I was talking to the community, and I got a lot of questions about, okay, we know when Alpha 2 is starting, when is Alpha 2 ending? Because that's the next step, right? We have this answer, now we need the next answer. It's a good question because it applies to a lot of people interested in Ashes of Creation. Actually, the vast majority of the people interested in Ashes of Creation are more interested in when the game is going to go live than they are interested in the day-to-day musings of what Alpha 2 is. I look at video games like this. You have your bubbles of interest. Everybody that is interested in video games fits into one bubble. A smaller bubble, it lies within that, which is a group of people interested in MMORPGs. And within that MMORPG bubble, you have smaller bubbles of different games. You have your World of Warcrafts, you have your Final Fantasies, your Elder Scrolls Online, your Throne and Liberties, New Worlds, and Ashes of Creation is also a bubble within this space. And within the Ashes of Creation bubble, you have people interested in Alpha 2 release content, when the next testing phase is going to be for the PTR, random things that happen on each server, cheating, server performance, all this stuff like that. That is a much smaller bubble that lies within the overall Ashes of Creation interest area. Most people don't care about that. And I think it's important to recognize when you're in an echo chamber, when you're in a much smaller bubble, it's okay. I like this bubble. I like the people here. I like the community. I like testing. I think all of this is fun, but we can also recognize that the masses aren't interested in this stage. What they are interested in is, when is this date going to happen? And I was asked this a lot last year, like I said, and my answer was the same as it's always been. I don't know. I like I said before, I'm not a video game developer. I have no idea on how this stuff's going to happen. And frankly, the first phase was a server maintenance and stability and performance phase, and we weren't going to get much information out of that either. What I thought, and why I'm bringing up this video now, is we're in the beginning of the timetable when we're going to start getting information for Ashes of Creation's release.
What is going on with you? What are you talking about?
You see, a few weeks ago, we got our first content rollout, larger content rollout. We're working on 6-week cadences where Intrepid is releasing content. And the one that happened 2-3 weeks ago now was a huge expansion into the desert. For those of you guys that don't know, that are not involved in the Alpha 2 echo chamber, the desert doesn't exist. It's never existed. It's a mirage. It is a fake place. It is a fake place where nothing has ever been created.
But I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
But despite this thing not being created, it has been added upon, it has been iterated upon, and we got a lot of big changes a few weeks ago. We got new weapons. We got some smaller pocket dungeons, which are essentially small caves. I wouldn't even call them dungeons, to be honest. They're very small in nature. We got a big art overhaul. There's different landmarks that exist out there. There's skeletons randomly in the sides of the cliffs. Places that I used to go to before in experience, basically being Muad'Dib himself, have been changed quite a bit. Steven revealed it on a podcast a couple weeks ago with Tangents of Creation that in February they're working on finishing the desert expansion for the peninsula, and then they're going to be moving into the tropics in March.
The Sand Squall Peninsula will likely be complete this month. The tropics will and the Turquoise Sea will likely be completed by the end of next month.
Obviously, guys, if you guys have been following along, you know to not pay too much attention to timetables. Like, I'm not saying the desert will be completed in February. I'm not saying that at all. It could take longer. It really could. Sometimes things take longer than you expect. But regardless of when it happens, when the desert gets completed, regardless of when the tropics get completed, if they're completed on time, great. We have an idea. We have an idea for what their content rollout is going to look like. If it gets delayed, and let's say it takes a couple months for the desert to release, and then it takes a couple months for the tropics to release, great. We have a timetable for when this stuff is going to be rolled out. We have the first actual information given to us for content rollouts. You see, if you go to the Ashes of Creation Wikipedia, we already know what is going to exist in the game. We already know that there is going to be OpenSea PvP. There is going to be open seas. We know that the nodes will go much higher than the level 3 that they currently exist at. We know that vassalization will exist. We know that there will be a lot more weapons. We know that there's going to be 64 classes. 8 archetypes will combine with 8 archetypes. You'll pick one main one and you'll pick a secondary one to make one of 64 classes. That's how 8 times 8 works. And currently, none of those things are finalized. There is no OpenSea. OpenSea actually is the desert. It doesn't exist currently on the Alpha 2 servers. We don't have all the weapons rolled out yet. We have 6 of the 8 archetypes, and we are not at the point to where we're combining archetypes yet. And so these are just a few examples. There's a lot more stuff that is not complete, of course, but we know what needs to be done. And so when we start seeing content rollouts of different things, we're going to start seeing actual tangible information of how, wow, they just came out with the desert. They just came out with the tropics. They just came out with the rogue. Hey, we're into June now, hypothetically. They just came out with some of the augments, and now we're getting the summoner, stuff like this. And so now we're going to see this expansion of different things, and we're going to be able to timetable Alpha 2's release better. Now, I know we are a ways into this video, and some of you may have been watching this expecting me to give you guys a release date, giving you, when is the game going to go live? And like I said, we don't have that information yet. And I am of the personal opinion that Skip Bayless and his shitty hot takes have ruined an entire generation of good thought and discussion based on information. I think his hot takes, although fun, although interesting sometimes when he talks shit about LeBron James and, how he's no Jordan, at some point, you're just talking out of your ass. And I would rather do less of that, and I would rather do more discussion based off of stuff that we do know. And so I want to get this video out now to tell you guys that in Q1 of 2025, we're going to start seeing our first information for when we could see this going live. Although we may never be able to pin down the exact year or month even, I think by May, we'll be able to narrow down the release date to a couple of years. Whether that's 2030, 2028, 2026, like the most ambitious people I've seen, whatever your date is, we're going to have more information soon. And so what I will say is those of you guys that are interested in the Ashes of Creation space, obviously you don't have to follow the day-to-day musings of different things going on in a test phase, but I would just pay attention to the different rollouts. Like, if you're interested in this game, kind of see what's going on, see how long of a timetable it is. And in the meantime, I don't know when it's going to be, but we're going to have more of that information soon. And so hopefully by June of this year, I will have a different tune, and maybe I can narrow down the date from, I don't know, to something a little bit better. Regardless, I would love to hear your hot takes in the section below. You really can't guess anything more wild than I haven't heard. So feel free to tell me what you think the timetable for dates are. I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Have a good one.